Yeah, look, we're going out to Vegas to play against a good opponent. Got a lot of respect for this coaching staff. Got a lot of respect for these players. This will be a tough challenge for us going on the road. But again, like always, excited about the next opportunity. So go ahead.
Dennis, with Genty, obviously he hasn't got unlocked the way that some people might have expected in the early going. But when you watch, what makes him dangerous?
He's a violent runner. He gets into the second, third level of the defense. He's seeking out contact. He runs extremely hard. I think he's an outstanding player. He's got great vision, really good feet, and he runs tough. He runs violent, and so you got to get a lot of hats around the ball on him. And really you don't want him to have free access into the second, third level of your defense, because if he gets there, you got to bring your hard hat, because there's going to be a collision.
What impressed you most about the defense against Dallas that maybe you could carry over to Las Vegas?
Look, each and every week's a different week. Obviously, just like the last couple of weeks where it hadn't worked out like we wanted to, we came in on Monday. We made the corrections that we needed to make. There were certainly some good things that we did well, and yet we've moved on to the Raiders, and they present different challenges. They got a lot of speed at the receiver position. They've got really good tight ends. Bowers, I think, is an exceptional tight end. He runs really good routes. He's got good speed. He's good at the contested catch point. So that becomes a challenge. Obviously, the quarterback's played well the last few years, and he's playing well again. They're leading the league in terms of explosive passes, so they're able to get the ball down the field and create some explosive passes in the passing game. And then, I don't know that they've gotten their run game unleashed like they want to, and yet when you watch the tape, they're one play away every time from being able to break a big one. So they present a lot of challenges offensively.
Without Jalen, obviously, there's more on Tyreek to face some tougher matchups. What has he shown you in terms of stepping into this kind of role, and what did you see of him on Sunday?
Yeah, well, look, I think each and every week he comes in and goes to work and tries to improve. And that's what we got to see. And we've said this from day one. It's really about consistency with him. And so that's kind of what our challenge is each and every day to him, to be, a consistent worker, consistent physically, mentally, because he's got the talent to be able to do it. It's really about consistency, and I saw improvement in that area.
What have you seen in his work habits that have left an impression on you?
Well, look, again, like I said, it's been a little inconsistent, and yet I noticed this past week, and it's carried over into this week, a little more focus in terms of what he's being asked to do, and I think, if he can do that, then I think he'll continue to improve and get better, and so I think that's really the biggest thing for him, because he has the talent, and there was I've seen some really good plays by him. It's just the consistency needs to continue to improve, and he's been working really hard at that.
When you're talking about that inconsistency and then improving, him growing, like what specifically are you seeing that growth in?
Yeah, I think it's really more about the mental part of the game. Understanding, what he's being asked to do, understanding how the offense is trying to attack him, understanding where his help is within the defense. Those are all things that, you can't go out and play every play and play every play. Like, you have to be able to, in terms of coverage, you got to be able to chop some limbs off the route tree. If you're trying to play all the limbs of the route tree, it's going to be a struggle. And so I think that's an area that he's continued to strive to improve on, and I think I've seen improvement in those areas.
As you've been shorthanded at linebacker, what has Tremaine's consistency, meant for that group and for your defense?
Yeah, look, he's a guy that we're going to need to count on to play at a very high level. And so I think anytime you have injuries, wherever it may occur within your defense, not only are those replacements, do they have to step up and perform at a high level, but you need some of your other playmakers to step up and even play better. And so I was proud of the way that he played last week. We need him to play at a at a Pro Bowl level, which I think he's got that capability.
When you face these veteran quarterbacks, is there a unique challenge in terms of just how much they know? Whereas they may not have physically what they had in their prime, but if you leave the answers out there for them, they know where to look.
I definitely think that. I think, as with any player in this league, the more experience you have, the more reps you get, whether they be practice reps, game reps, whatever the case may be, you're gaining knowledge every single time you step out onto the field. And so Gino's played a lot of football. He's been in a lot of different systems. He's seen a lot of different things. And I think he's playing, at a high level. And so, certainly if you just line up in one thing every time, and he knows exactly what you're doing, you're creating some tough matchups for yourself. And so, yeah, you got to be able to do some things to make him, whether it be in the run game or the pass game, to make him have to figure some things out, on the run.
And if you don't get pressure, then if you give him the time to find the answers, then that's a liability as
And
well.
I've said this from day one. Pass coverage is all about, or pass defense is all about, the marriage of the coverage and the rush together. And so, if we're not stealing the step, if we're not making him have to process, if we're not having to make him go to his second read, it's going to be hard to get pressure on the quarterback. And if we're doing a great job of covering the routes, and yet we're not speeding up his process up front, then it becomes a long day too. So those two things have to work together.
Coach, there's obviously the ideal way that you want to play defense, but then there's also the way that you're able to play best against a given opponent or at a given time based on injuries or whatever. Coach Johnson talked about offensively being willing to do whatever is needed, run it 40 times, throw it 50 times. Are you equally comfortable defensively switching up from things that you ideally do, kind of like you did last week to
Look, absolutely. It's all about, from a defensive perspective, the game is all about limiting points. That's what it's all about. It's not about yards. It's not about any of that stuff. It's not about rushing, passing, whatever the case may be. It's about limiting points. And each and every game plan, how you go about doing that, is going to be different. And so, we attack each and every week as a new week. When we get the game plan and we start going on the game plan, it's a blank slate when we walk in there the very first day. It's not like we just, we take last week's game plan and make a couple of tweaks and here we go. We figure out what do we have to do, what are the things that are pertinent for us to have to do to play good on defense and limit the points. What are those keys to victory? And so we do that each and every week, and then we try to come up with a game plan that hopefully allows us to do that.
When you look at how up and down this Raiders offensive line production has been, do you see this as an opportunity to move Montez kind of around on the defensive line to try and get him some
Yeah, well, look,
those one-on-one matchups?
Certainly we want to be able to put our guys in the best position to have success, whatever that may be. Without getting into any specifics, game plan wise, what our thoughts are or anything like that. Obviously, the front has two aspects to it. There has the ability to stop the run, and then there has the ability to get after the passer. And so, we try to put a plan together that we think gives us the best opportunity to do both those things.
What did you think of Javon's pass rush against Dallas? It's going to be key for him to maintain consistency.
Who's that?
Dexter.
Yeah, I think it's really just that. I mean, like if you're going to rush the passer, it starts with your get off. You got to be able to get off the ball, and what I've seen over the last couple of weeks is it's really been more about transition rushes. Trying to on some of these heavy play action passes where teams are keeping 7 and 8 men in protection. If you're only rushing 4, that my math tells me that they got more guys blocking than we got rushing, and so it makes it more challenging. And yet you have to be able to punch out of these double teams and transition from a run defense to now I'm in pass rush mode. And so I think that's an area that all of us really need to continue to improve on.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
For young quarterback, what's the challenge of playing on the road, being on in the ways of life?
So that's a big part of it. Obviously, having to deal with the communication is the number one thing that gets affected when you're on the road. A lot of times you have to use different cadence and things like that. And then, being able to hear the play caller and call it, and then at the line of scrimmage, being able to communicate, maybe it's hand signals and things like that. I think that's the biggest difference, but that could be a young player or an older player. It impacts you, equally the same.
There's a chance that there are gonna be a lot of Bears fans at this game.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. It'd be great.
I was gonna say, does that change kind of your silent count or kind of your planning?
At times it will. You always have to be prepared for it to be loud wherever you go. And so you better be preparing for worst case scenario. Hey, we can't hear, we need to operate. And then, within the game, if there needs to be an adjustment made, that usually happens during the game, and you're sitting there on the sideline. You're like, hey, it's not super loud in here. We can be verbal, or we can change that. But you got to go into the game preparing for it to be crazy.
And how encouraged were you by the lack of pre-snap issues?
I was encouraged. That's the expectation, and so you come out of that game, and there's less of that. That's a credit to our guys coming into work and handling Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But that's really when that stuff gets cleaned up during the week, and we go have good days, and then you go out on Sunday and you're thinking less at the line of scrimmage. You're just going and playing. You're in flow, and that causes a lot less of those to be at the line of scrimmage, where you're trying to think through things, and your mind's in two different spots, and you end up jumping.
And when you said that,
the line played?
I think the line played good enough for us to get it done. I think every aspect of our offense we need to continue to grow, and that includes the line. It was awesome to come out of the half and be able to hammer through. It's a 19-play drive, and anytime you do that, that can be demoralizing to an opponent just because you're possessing the ball, you're moving it. I do think we left some yards on the table in the run game. That's an area that it's a point of emphasis to go make more. And so I think that's the O-line, that's the running backs, that's blocking on the perimeter. We all can improve there.
What was going through your mind when you saw Swift's pitch back to Caleb? That was kind of like
When that thing was in the air, I was a little worried. We practiced that quite a bit, and so you always have confidence in the guys going out and going executing it. We felt good calling it, and it's a really cool thing when I'm up in the box, but you're sitting there and coach calls that play, and you're like, all right, if this hits, like, this stadium's about to explode, and that's always a really cool feeling. But certainly we'd like to be cleaner with the pitch back to Caleb, and he delivered a great ball. Luther did a great job of catching it and finishing.
Sorry, Declan, three games in, what have you learned about communicating and working with Ben in game, and that communication between you guys, chemistry maybe from upstairs to downstairs?
Yeah, I think it's among the whole staff, kind of getting used to the communication aspect of what he needs to be able to go out and execute his job, as well as our players. I think we get more comfortable with each other every week, just as a whole, but also trying to take things off his plate. If it's between a drive, talking to the offensive staff about something we need to get cleaned up. That's the biggest thing, is just you start to understand really the communication structure of an in-game, and it makes us much more efficient.
Question for you about DJ Moore at running back. So the novelty of that is not there anymore. That's a regular part of your offense. Teams know it's coming. Just as a straight up running back, as a runner, what does he bring to your backfield?
I think he runs hard. He has pretty natural vision. So, like, obviously in his life, he doesn't have that many reps from back there, but being able to see those reads, he's pretty natural back there. He really, the biggest thing is he provides a challenge for a defense, because you don't really know what we're going to do when he's back there. It's not like he's a one-trick pony. We feel really comfortable with him doing a number of those running back jobs. And so the biggest thing is the multiplicity that provides us in stressing a defense.
Richard Hightower was telling us.
Do you classify him as, is he kind of a power runner? Or, I mean, I know he's got the speed.
Yeah, I would say that he has a speed element to his game. He's willing to be physical when he needs to be. I I don't think he would stand up here in front of you and say like, hey, I'm this physical, powerful, downhill in the box runner. But he certainly can be when he needs to be. And so we love that element of his game.
Richard Hightower was telling a story about Luther Burden texting him after the game that he wasn't happy with the kickoff return. What have you seen just from a wide receiver perspective of his hunger to establish himself in this?
I would say that Luther is doing a really good job. L's spending a ton of time with Luther, getting him ready to go. And any rookie making the transition, it's always, learning how do we prepare for a game? How do we study? What are the things that I need specifically in order to go out there on Sunday and have confidence? And I've seen, a guy who's hungry to impact the game, a guy who's hungry to, do a lot for us. And so he'll continue to get better, and our expectation is that he's going to continue to grow.
We talk a lot about Caleb and the way that you as a coaching staff and even the defense were challenging him throughout that process. What does a performance like Sunday reflect in terms of the growth that he's made?
I think he's growing every week, but that expectation doesn't really stop. You know what I mean? He's getting coached just as hard this week as he was last week when, the outside noise maybe have been a little bit louder in a negative way. But the standard is the same. The process is the same. We still, continue to expect him to prepare for this week and, go out and play well on Sunday and have confidence to be able to go out and rip it and have confidence in the plan.
Obviously, the stats rectify the offense. How do you rectify how good the run blocking's been through the last couple of games, but some of DeAndre's runs just haven't hit yet? Like, where's the balance there in being able to him capitalize on those blocks a little bit better?
Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily any one place. I don't know if that can, you can't really put that on one guy. That's us being better on the perimeter as well. We got to do a better job out there. But, when you're evaluating the tape and you're watching it with a runner, what's your read? Okay, what did you see? Where does that ball need to go? And then maybe we find a different cavity that in that defense that we're able to capitalize on that a little more. And I think that's an evolving thing. As the year goes on, we need to continue to improve there. But obviously, felt like we left meat on the bone a little bit in this last game.
Declan, on Rome's touchdown, he gets open in part because Diggs lost his footing early.
Yeah,
Did you sense that Rome caused any of that with his swipe, or could you tell whether his release impacted?
I think the corner kind of just got caught in a quick jam. Rome did a really good job of having a release plan. He was open, he stuck his hand up, he was on the same page as the queue, and we're able to, convert a 3rd and 5 for a touchdown. It's pretty good.
Obviously, Caleb's stats want him the offensive player of the week, but for him, he talks about just doing the right thing at the right time more consistently. Are you seeing that from him? Is that part of the growth that you're seeing?
Yeah, I would say so. It's process driven. You go right back. You don't worry about all the other stuff. The result is dictated by the process. Or your habits. What you did during the week is carrying you into Sunday, and so that's the biggest thing. That's the point of emphasis. You don't change that. But that process got to continue to get better too. Like we go out there today, and we're expecting him to operate on Thursday at a higher level than he operated last week on Thursday.
Definitely with Crosby, acknowledging that he's a great player, there's only so much you can do, but being in the division with him the last couple of years, how does that just kind of shape the way that you prepare?
Yeah, he's a very unique player. I've been able to go against him the last 2 years 4 times, and so when building a plan, obviously you have to have awareness of where he's at all times. He's a phenomenal player. He plays with great effort. That's the biggest thing about him that shows up on the tape. He's slippery, and you just have to have really an awareness, and on every single play, you got to have a plan for how we're going to handle him.
When that run game isn't getting going early on, do you guys kind of view the short passing game, the Swift, as an extension of that?
I think that both the passing game and the running game always are tied together, and so yes, I think when you're throwing quick game, however you're taking advantage of teams that are playing with maybe softer coverage. Whether you're running the ball and they're playing a shell or you're completing quick game, certainly that can be achieved that way. We want to be able to run the ball. We want to be able to morph in we want to be able to dictate, how a defense is going to play us, not the other way around. And so the mentality is we got to run the ball better, and that's certainly a point of emphasis.
Over the last several months, in what specific ways has Theo earned your confidence and your trust?
Yeah, Theo's done a really good job in practice. He obviously had to play this past week. He did a good job of going out there and handling it. But it's the stuff that you guys don't necessarily see, how he is in the building and things like that. that'll instill confidence in a player. At the same point in time, there's nothing like going out and doing it. And so that's the biggest thing is watching him in practice every day is it's been good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Doug.
Guys.
How's everyone?
Good.
I'm doing fine, thank you. What you guys got? Go ahead.
So, the Raiders are last in kickoff coverage and I believe 29th in punt return coverage. What do you see that's made them so vulnerable?
When I look at the tape, I see guys playing hard, playing to the whistle, and finishing. I mean, I see one play that happened that can skew that, but this team is going to be ready to go. I think Coach mentioned it to you all, and I've been in division with Pete Carroll before. Like, they're always good on teams. So we're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe on any of that kind of stuff where you say they're not playing well and all that stuff. Coach McMahon has been in the league close to 2 decades, coaching special teams. You don't last 2 decades without coaching really good football. Coach Swinton, who's his assistant, does a phenomenal job. He's been a 2-time coordinator in this league as well. And I know they'll have that unit ready to go. And then they also have a third guy over there. They got 3 guys. They got Kay Raker, so they got another guy that's helping them out. So Coach Blevins and I are going to have our eyes and ears open and be on top of our details this week. And we're excited to try to go get our first road win. That's where our focus is.
I know you show plays to your players from around the league. How do you kind of explain what happened with all the block kicks at the end of games? That was just an aberration, or is there a common theme there? Are people doing the same type of things? That was kind of crazy to see.
Yeah, it was odd and crazy to see. It hasn't happened in a while, Larry. It's a good perspective and a good question. There were 12 blocks, in the last 3 weeks. So that hasn't happened in a long time. We're studying it. Those 12 blocks on field goal. Obviously, there have been a couple on extra point as well. Still too early to tell if there's a trend or anything. We looked at all of them. They're happening all over the field. So it's not like they're longer kicks or they're shorter kicks. They're happening with a lot of different teams, different divisions, different weather, indoors, outdoors. So there's really no trend on it right now. What I can tell you is that we're watching all of that tape, and our players are watching all of that tape as well. We went through all of those blocks with them as well, so they could learn from it and they could see it. And their eyes are open on it. So those are really good teaching moments for us as coaches and for the rest of the football team. So they're well aware, and we study the hell out of the league, and the boys are they're on top of it. We're some eye-opening moments in the meetings this week with that.
Richard, what do you think of the knuckle kick? I'm sure it's something that kickers have been trying for years, but why is it working now?
Yeah, you're talking about the dirty kick.
Uh-huh.
We call them dirty kicks or dirty balls. We call them dirty kicks. So, yeah, you talking about on kickoff? Are you talking about on kickoff? Yeah. So that's what all the special teams coaches call them. So yeah, those dirty kicks or knuckle kicks. I think that's also is still too early to tell, but we're expecting those from the Raiders. I mean, they do that. I mean, they've done that in the past. Now there's consequences with that. Like you could have the landing zone penalties and some of that stuff where you could put your defense at the 40-yard line if you don't do it properly. I thought Cairo did a phenomenal job of it last week, where we mixed some of that stuff in to keep Turpin off key and off balance there, and he couldn't key us on some of that stuff. So the main objective for Cairo last week was to make sure we do not allow Turpin to wreck the game, and he did a phenomenal job with those knuckle kicks that you're talking about. But we'll see more of them, and we work on them all the time, both kicking them and returning against them.
So your philosophy on it as of now is to use it opportunistically rather than, I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly, rather than like all the time because it has such a risk to it, such a downside.
No, I'm just saying there is risk to it. I'm saying my philosophy is to use whatever wins the game. So I'll use it if we need to use it. I will not use it if we don't think it'll help us win. We can do anything at any time, and our guys know how to do it all. So we're ready to rock and roll at any time.
Yeah, you tried the rollout kind of rugby style punt, whatever, I don't know what you guys call it, but what did you like about that? Whether that and what is Torrey's kind of history with experimenting with different style of kicks?
Yeah, that's something. It's a great observation. That's something that he's done in his past, in his career. He's done in his college career. He's done it really since he's a little boy, picking up, just running and kicking the ball. So it provides a different element for us, um, and kept some guys off balance for sure. And there's more to come with that stuff. So we like the fact that he can do some of those things he's been working on in the off season. So we feel good about it.
There aren't that many stadiums that Cairo's inexperienced in, but I think he's only been at this Vegas stadium once in his career. Is there anything different you guys do pregame? Just to kind of get him locked in there as opposed to a lot of these other places he's been probably 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah, I mean, I think, he'll go through his normal routine. We've talked about that. We talk about that in the beginning of the week, what our routine is, what our pregame routine is, what time we plan on going out, how many kicks we plan on doing. Um, we got little different things that we do that I can't divulge everything, but we do certain things when we go to certain stadiums and keep catalogs and stuff like that. So this will be one that we haven't been to much. He hasn't been to. I personally have never been there. It's the only stadium I've never been to in the league. And I don't think Scott Daly's been there either. So we're excited to go.
Do you try to get a scouting report from your friends in the business on what's it like there?
Always try to get scouting report on any and everything. Any competitive advantage we can get to help those kids in that locker room is what we try to do at all times.
Richard, Ben's talked about the way you guys played complimentary football at the end of the first half last week. What did you like about your guys' role in that, from Cairo's kickoff to the coverage right at the end of the first half?
Yeah, I thought it's an excellent question. I thought that the guys did a really good job. Obviously, we chose to run time out the clock and kick and cover right there. Really good football kick by Cairo. Good coverage by the unit, getting that guy down. He's dangerous and elusive, and probably should have had him tackled, probably even 3 or 4 yards further back. He slips out of tackles and stuff. So Hardy got a pretty good shot on him, but couldn't hold on to him. But Carl ended up making a tackle, and I think it went out at like the 22-yard line. Defense stopped him, which was an improvement for all of us across the board. And I really liked that we came out at halftime and then stopped them again on kickoff again. So we just got to keep putting good football together. Last week was a step in the right direction, but we still got a ways to go. We're still searching for our first win on the road.
What do you like about what Luther Burton's been giving you on returns?
I like that Luther is fearless. He's fearless, and he's never satisfied. Even after that game that he had, he was texting the night of, really upset about the kickoff return he had and seeing how he could be better with that. So he's hungry, and he has really good vision. And we all know he's dangerous with the ball in his hand. So I like that he's fearless, and I like that he's not satisfied. So we just need more from him.
Couple more. All right, thanks guys.
All right, thank you all.